Now, for those of you who might have joined this event last time, you might remember that the panelists were in agreement. They basically said the human factor is still quite prevalent in robotics. Why? Because we still need humans to program the robots. And this is a process that is often long and tedious, and of course also error-prone. And that ultimately leads to higher cost. The solution to all this is, of course, standardization and ease of use. And this panel will try and pick up on a few of those points from last time. Thank you. And while also talking about AI, customer needs today and tomorrow, robotics in Germany, and also a general outlook on the industry. And now I'd like to introduce the panel. I'm just going to make my way from my left to my right, sort of say. It's hard. Far left. Far left, thank you. So next to me, we have an experienced leader, manager, investor, and podcast host. He's the chairman of the German Robotics Association, Helmut Schmid. Welcome, Helmut. Hello. Next to Helmut, we have a distinguished leader with extensive experience in the machine tool industry, CEO of KUKA Robotics, Reinhold Groß. Welcome, Reinhold. Thank you. Then we have a visionary in AI-powered cognitive robotics, CEO of Neura Robotics, David Reger. Hi, David. And on my far left, we have an entrepreneur, leader, and driver of innovation, CEO of Unchained Robotics, Mladen Milicevic. Welcome. It's great to have you all here with us. So I want to give you all a nice and easy warm-up question to start with. So you've all been involved in robotics for a long time. So could you maybe take us back to the start? How did each of you come to be involved in robotics? I think we'll just go this way around. So Helmut, if you want to go first.
Okay, actually, I didn't start with robotics from the beginning. So I wanted to become a pilot first. From a pilot, I went to an automotive engineer. And around 10 years ago, I had the one-time opportunity to start in developing the cobot market. And then I moved into AGVs and AMRs, and out of this, I'm the founder and co-founder of the German Robotics Association.
Okay, thank you. Reinhold.
I mean, you mentioned already I spent about 28 years or so of my career in machine tools, and also 26 of it in sheet metal business. And these products are so darn expensive that you need to run them really in 3-shift operations. So it's all about automation. So basically from the beginning of that time, all the solutions were always with some sort of robot solutions connected.
Okay, thank you. David, how about you?
I started as a developer for robots while never having touched a robot. So I got this opportunity in Switzerland for Mabi, and then later I was able to spin it off and was also founding some other companies in the automation field and also production field. And that's also how I got into robotics, and then started Neura in 2019 in the southern part of Germany.
Okay, thank you. And Mladen.
I was optimizing shop floors and manufacturing assembly here in Germany, went to China, was working for a year in China, saw how massively different the approach was and how much faster things were going, and came back 2018 to found Unchained Robotics.
Okay, great, thank you. So we know why we're all here. David, I want to start with you, and maybe Mladen, you want to come in afterwards, and I want to look at AI-based robotics. So when we talk about AI, especially in combination with robots, people's imaginations tend to go a bit wild. And I know you speak on your website about films such as Terminator, stoking the fire, if you like. So maybe you can help calm everyone down a little bit, who knows. Will robots eventually take over humanity?
Here you have the answer. And, so I hope not. Let's say like that. No, I do think, let's say, AI-driven robotics is actually the answer of our need, what we have actually, and not just industrial use cases, but also let's say in every kind of other use case, like in household robotics and everywhere, like I think the key component there is artificial intelligence, because there's more autonomy needed and less experts. And this is, I think, also the answer on that. And but I do not think that artificial intelligence is going to take over the world. Instead, like, if there is no human behind, which is going, which have this strong will and this power for that. So, because even artificial intelligence, I think, even does not have an aim for power or for glory or for whatever. I just had it yesterday, had the same question, and because it has no feeling, it has no soul, which is aiming for something. So it's basically there to support us, and this is also where I see robotics, and especially what Neura does. It's like making robots to serve humanity in all kind of fields and sectors.
Okay, good. You've calmed me down. Mladen, would you like to come in?
For me, the overview is we're designing AI and working on that to build them like agents, yeah, to be very specific, very good on certain tasks. And since we are designing it, I think we also have the opportunity to design the measures and processes so that we don't get taken over by AI and then especially by robots. And I also believe that this is a question of how do we approach things and how we work on things and how do we want to design it. And I think everyone in the community is pretty clear that we want to build something that's helping us, that's taking off the hard work, the dirty, dull, and dangerous work, and being very specific in being super expert in finding special information that we don't see yet. So I don't believe that this is something of a takeover.
Okay. You've both mentioned it there, I think, but David, maybe just coming back to you in particular. So the robots are becoming more and more intelligent, and the ultimate goal is to make our human lives easier. So these robots will be taking out the rubbish, cooking, cleaning. Is that the way that we're going?
Yeah, that's actually the point. Like I mostly have a keynote about robotics and artificial intelligence. I always start about artificial intelligence and telling actually why humans are fearing artificial intelligence is basically because artificial intelligence is going right now this way to take over tasks which we would love to do if we would have enough money and time, you know? So it means like drawing pictures, making music, like writing new stories or whatever. These are things which I think the most of us would love to do, or inventing things in the future. So, but tasks which nobody likes to do is like taking the garbage out, as you said, or filling up the dishwasher. I think everyone hates. It's things which are still not automated, and it's only possible if you give like embody artificial intelligence with that. And this is also where I do see, in a very near future, I think this is still a big question. Which there's a lot of doubts about that, but I do believe it's not that difficult to get there, and I think very soon, I think the next 2-3 years we will be there.
Mladen, coming back to you, I mean, obviously this all sounds really great, you know, having a robot doing the cooking, doing the cleaning, you can just chill all day, watch TV, whatever. But I mean, we're not there quite yet, right? So how ready is this technology? I mean, is it just a hype? Maybe you could give us your opinion on how you would assess the current speed of these transformations compared to maybe the industry a decade ago. And I'd like to bring in Reinhold afterwards as well.
Yeah. I think if you compare that really to a decade ago, we're living in a totally different time, to be honest. We made great progress in terms of how do we train and how large actually can models get. And there's also the theory that there's actually no real plateau to see. If you add more compute, you get actually more out of the AI. So I believe we're on a fast track right now, and it's a totally different scenario than we had 10 years ago, because also of all the changes we had in the past and how much data we collected and how much data we created in the last 10 years. So I do believe that we are on a very, very fast track. But on the other side, also bringing AI into bodies is also something that's limited by physics. And I think we have many, many tasks to solve also on the physics side before we actually can bring AI into robotic bodies that are 100% reliable. So to answer the question, I think we're on a hype scale right now, and maybe we're going also towards the tipping point, and we will go to a phase of understanding it's not all that there yet, but I think we will go through that circle faster than many people think right now.
Okay. Reinhold, do you see us in the same phase?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps to answer that hype question first, I would say important is it is not just a hype. That it is hyped, I think that is everybody of us has the same opinion about that. If you read it in the newspaper, also with your introductory questions, I always say, there's a lot of science fiction in it. And our job is to take the fiction out and to make science out of it and then to implement it. But there's really a lot content to it. One of the questions this morning, and that is perhaps to your second part of your question about the speed of the adaptation. One of the questions this morning was also concerning what can we do to increase the adaptation of robotic automation. And I would say if you look at the programmable tasks, all the tasks that we can solve in programs, we are already relatively far in the industry in that adaptation. But there's like a huge field of areas which tasks that you cannot just program. And so I would say most important is that level of autonomy that needs to be reached. And there AI plays the basic part of it. And that has been just the development of the hardware. This is the AI as a logic is relatively old. But if we look back, I mean, the GPUs that are able to really do the calculation in a speed that it's really usable have not been around for so long. Yeah, and that is giving us the opportunity now to develop the applications on a much higher speed.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the David, sorry, come.
I think here is maybe the question still, like, what kind of robotics we are talking about. Like, because if you're talking about humanoids, maybe this is kind of right. The other part, like, but I do think also a mobile robot, let's say a mobile platform with an arm is something we are having today already in the market. And from the application-wise, this is also what I'm trying always to say. Like, I always break it down for my engineers also when they read like this big article at Bild and then showing like, hey, Neura is coming up with a household robot. I also get, like, how do you call it in German, in English, like stoned or when I'm coming back to office, not everyone is happy about these articles. But the thing is, when I break it down to pieces, it's actually not so far. Like that you're saying, like, hey, can we today scan a room? Like with our technologies at Neura? Yes, we can. Can we actually then set it as an idle state? Yes, we can. Can we put everything what's new in this room? Can we just pick it up? Yes, we can. Can we pick up objects we know? Yes, we can. Can we pick up objects we don't know? Yes, we can. So we can clean children's rooms already. So and then and you're getting like one step by the other, and I do think like we need just to have the will to do it, and I think this will be done in very short time.
Okay.
And it's a different kind of robotics again. It's not like for 36,000 hours, like 24/7, full load, full speed. It's actually like a car, like in a garage. It's like 6,000 hours lifetime and most time in the garage.
Okay.
Sorry about
no, sure.
just
Absolutely. I want to pick up on something that Reinhold said before, programmable tasks. So I think if I get it correctly, when we talk about these intelligent robots, people automatically think programmable task. So maybe you could clarify for us, what are the more intelligent robots actually used for?
And it's actually for situations, like David said, there is applications that are there and everybody knows. If we look at like bin picking solutions, for example, there's also already quite a lot of solutions around, where with cameras you can identify parts. That is something that could not have been solved a couple of years ago because you need an AI for it, because you just cannot say how the part is laying in the bin. Yeah, and that is one of the examples. I think with that development in this is why I like to call it more and more autonomy, because I think there's a lot of parallels to autonomous driving. Yeah, that was also hyped 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and if you remember, the first thing that was in the newspapers was, should the car rather run over the grandmother or the child? And that point of time, the cameras could not even differentiate between the two. But that was the articles in the newspaper. But what is important then in the daily life is when we sit today in a car, it has a distance control, it has an emergency brake. So a lot of these adaptations have taken place. And I think that is exactly the same thing. It's a step-by-step development. It's just, and I fully agree with you, it's in the meanwhile going much faster even than we have expected.
Yeah. Would you like to step in, again with anything to add, or have we covered the programmable tasks sufficiently?
I just think maybe one comment is like that for sure. A household is more organized than a street outside. It's different weather condition, whatever. That's the difficulty of autonomous driving. And I think in the household, like, and this is also maybe a very good point, like, why is automation possible in the factories? Because we're super organized and structured, and this is also maybe something we should think about if you're willing, and that's why I'm talking about the willingness of taking robots into our home. It's like maybe we should restructure our homes like a little bit. I'm talking about little things, like, and that's a good question, because most will say, no, I don't, because everything should stay as it is, and I would just want to use a robot when it's good enough. And I said, yeah, we could also wait for flying cars, but we did not. We built streets. We don't need them in the future maybe anymore because we have flying cars. But this is exactly the point in robotics, like, of how much do we will, how big is our will to really bring robots in the field of our homes.
I want to come back to Reinhold just for another second. So basically, I mean, we've spoken just now. So these adaptations, the use cases are only going to increase. Yeah, we're going to be using these intelligent robots everywhere. So with that in mind, where do you see the interplay between the robots and OT in future? And David, again, if you want to come in afterwards, feel free.
I don't know.
No, please do.
No, actually, for me, it's integrated. We have to make sure that the solutions are fully integrated. To give a concrete example, a new generation of control that we started to implement. We've shown it on the CIF in China already, so I can leak a little bit about the content. We, for example, integrated a slot for an AI card. Yeah, just to make sure that future AI applications can basically run on the control, and you don't need to put in there a separate IPC or anything to run the application. And that is just one small example, you know, how to integrate that in one solution. Yeah, for me, AI is a tool or is a technology actually to just enable applications.
Okay, and David, yeah, from an OT perspective, the interplay. Is there anything else that you would like to mention to add to Reinhold?
It's like about computing, or like, what do we talk about?
So the interplay basically of how relevant will it be, the AI together with the OT, if we say that the robotics, the applications are only going to increase? Yeah,
for sure it will be very relevant. I think in the future there will be pretty much no robots without, because you're simply using it actually for unnormal situation, and at the same time you're using it for optimization. So if you're looking, like, for example, the newest advanced chip factories, like Jens Fabrowski, our CEO, did, for example, if you look at it, like, every chip, they don't have like really prototypes. Like, they just know for sure that they bring the chips into production, and every chip will be better than the other. So, and why? Because it's driven by AI. So, and normally the fab was driven like by thousands of people, and today they can run it on weekends by 8 people. So why? Because the artificial intelligence is taking. And this is pretty much also, I think, in all the robotics fields. A robot simply, even today, I think the most having already, like, it depends also again of what we call AI and what not. Like, so we call it, we have like 3 layers of our, let's say, we can call all of them artificial intelligence. We can also call them just neural networks. I like the neural network part, because especially when you're talking about on the edge, directly on the sensor, then you're having like one which is more centralized, let's say GPU, CPU, which you're having like up to 600 million parameters, and then you're having like the cloud solution, which is going to billions of parameters. So, and this is, I think, also still our chance here, especially in Europe, actually to still win, because this is something what the others don't have so much data as we have, and we should just use it. Or so it's actually physical data, so it means interaction, direct touch between let's say artificial intelligence and the physical world, and this is where we could now actually, in my opinion, also win the game against all the others. Okay.
I'm going to give you two a break now. We're going to make a slightly hard cut, and we're going to come to Helmut, who's been quiet all the time.
Each other. It's
not so hard.
No, it's hard.
So Helmut, you are the chairman of the German Robotics Association, as we've already said. What exactly does the association do?
So we have founded 4 4 years ago. So we are a startup or scale up maybe as an organization. We were founded by a few robotic enthusiasts and experts, and we say robotic from experts or for experts. But mainly it's the main target, how to bring robotics to the SMEs. So all the big numbers go to the Siemens, the Bosch, the BMWs. But the small and medium-sized companies still are hesitant. So this is a target, how to penetrate and how to educate the market. On the one hand side. On the other side, we have so many cool startups with no-code, low-code, AI combined approaches. And they also need a stage how to get and penetrate the market. Because finally we can, to secure the industrial footprint in Germany, but also to keep the prosperity high, I believe we can either work harder, work longer, immigrate more, educate better, but finally, to gap and to bridge, we will not have another opportunity than robotics and automation. And this is what we want to do, and I believe the future is, former my corporate time always said, we need to go do-it-yourself robotics, out of the shelf. And all the new tools and AI we have can this enable, and this is one of our tasks.
Now, I recently read some statistics. I think last year, the number of robotics installations in Germany grew by about 7% to 28,000 units, roughly. And I mean, Germany is by far the largest market in Europe and the only European market in the worldwide top 5. So how would you rate Germany's position compared to the rest of the world?
Well, good question. First of all, I would say we in Germany have enormous good universities and research institutes. We just founded the RIC, the Robotic Institute of Germany. You have main players, and all is fine. And as you mentioned, we are number 1 in Europe. But actually, what does this mean? What I mean is, if I compare installed robots on people, and I look to Asia, and in comparison to South Korea, which is very similar, huge automotive market, higher IT market, the penetration or the installed robots per employees, it's almost 3 times higher than in Germany. So this means we are third place. Do we want to be third place or do we want to be first place? That's the one. And if I look on the other Asia to China, for example, all moved. Xiaozi said, we're moving to location where it's cheaper. And China was about 5 years ago placed number 10. Most likely next year they will bypass us because they grow 50% per annum. We grow 7%. So the question is, do we want to lay back and say, well, we are so cool, we are number 1 in Europe? No, we aren't. If we want to challenge if we want to solve the topics, we need guys like here with cool application, but also our society need to think. At the beginning was a question, what is necessary to improve? I think we have to be open up. Germany, the German Mittelstand sometimes is very hesitant, and therefore he's not investing money. So we need to be open to robotics, to industrial robotics, to service robotics, and then the potential is high to really triple the installation rate we have. That's what my perspective be.
Okay. We'll come back to Germany again a little bit later. Reinhold, are your batteries recharged? Are you ready to go? So, Reinhold, obviously, KUKA is one of the largest manufacturers of robots, so you have many customers all over the world. Could you share with us a little bit about what these customers are currently dealing with and also which challenges they are facing?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things were already mentioned, and I think that's really also nothing completely new what they're dealing with. I mean, it was in your presentation also nicely shown in these pictures. how the availability of educated labor is basically going back, and that is an effect we see that's not going to stop. It's continuously developing in this direction, and especially, and you mentioned that also before, especially of course for jobs that are just boring. That is you can't really find the people. So typical questions is from easy applications, like you don't find people that want to drive these milk run systems in the factories, that is very easy to replace, to difficult questions. We don't find the people to refill our stores during the night, that is a very unpleasant task from midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, refilling shelves. That is a more difficult task. So that is, I would say, the range, and this is also coming back to some of the stuff is already answered, is programmable, is there. The other stuff we still have to address, and I think, David, that is what you mentioned before. I would say the biggest complexity right now is that the technology in a lot of these cases is there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is more the questions: how fast are we in adapting that technology in real solutions? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I would assume that's one of your biggest challenges at KUKA, right? So transitioning from the current, the now world to this new world of robotics. When we say, okay, the one that has AI fully integrated, right?
Yeah, I would say this is for everybody a challenge, most likely. That shift has taken place already over the years in some respect. So, I mean, if I look at the R&D resources today, we have 2/3 of R&D engineers are software developers. Yeah, so hardware, if we say today there's a shift from hardware to software, that shift has already taken place over the last 10 years, and I think that's most likely true for almost all companies. Mm-hmm. And of course, the software is now shifting a little bit more from operating systems to also applications like AI applications, but that is not just the internal topic. So what we are really actually addressing much more, and I think we get back to that perhaps also a bit later in the discussion that was mentioned this morning, is with all these what is very often used as perhaps a bit of a buzzword, this ecosystem, it is absolutely impossible to do everything by yourself. Yeah, we have, for example, a project that is still in a pre-project period, but we have shown it already in the Hanover Fair. We have a project together with Microsoft where we develop a co-pilot for our programming language. That is developing much, much faster than we've even thought beforehand. Yeah? So you can already prompt quite a lot of the content of a programming, so with the normal word prompting. And that is something where I would say it's a perfect example, because these large language models, we leave to Microsoft, no intention and no chance, to do there anything. But we need to collaborate, we need to work together to make really these applications available for the customers. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Mladen, I'd like to come to you now and to Unchained Robotics. So you're at Unchained, you speak of the Amazon of robotics, and that sounds pretty exciting. So could you share what exactly the Amazon of robotics is all about?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do so. Well, we started off coming back also with the experience from China and also talking about the robot density in Germany. We looked into many factories, and we understood that Industry 4.0 is not there yet, to be honest, in the broad SME landscape. We have the feeling, and we have also some data to it, that 80% of all the factories in Germany don't have any robot yet. It's all in the automotive industry. And to be fair, if you look at the big prospects of the KUKA and in other manufacturers, they give their reportings on how many robots they sold to automotive, and then the rest is general industry. So, and we understand that this is the German Mittelstand. So with UnchainedRobotics.de, we started out to make two things. We wanted to make for every factory worldwide to search and find robots easier. We started off with the first companies, published prices, technical details online, everything without any registration and login, and helped basically engineers to do their research and understand what kind of robots they could actually use in their factory. And we developed now in the company also to the next step to say, okay, we want to make the integration easier as well. So we're standardizing, we're building actually on top of all the other robot manufacturers, gripper manufacturers, camera manufacturers, a big ecosystem layer that makes it easier to go into the application. Yeah? We talk about standardized, easy applications like palletizing, machine tending, and so on and so forth. But what you actually want to do is you want to work with, let's say, SRCI and build on top of that application layers that are AI-based so that you can actually get to the plug-and-play introduction. And we call that Amazon of robotics because you can search, you can find, and you get it shipped, and you can use it in an easy way.
Okay. So let's say I'm interested. I log on to your Amazon of robotics. And so what do I see? What can I buy? Do I buy a robot? Do I buy a piece of a robot, like an arm? Do I buy AI, software? What is it? And why should I do that?
Yeah. That's the beauty of it. You can buy actually all of it. And you can get it also in a full package, so you can just use it in your factory within 1 hour of deployment. So you can see different kinds of robot manufacturers. To be fair, you can see Neura, you can see KUKA, you can see also many other manufacturers on there. You can do comparisons. You can use a configurator that explains, that is talking in your language. As an engineer, you know a lot about your process. You know how big your boxes are, how heavy they are, how fast you need things to be done, and how many of them you need. Yeah? And based on that and all the data sheets that we have, we do a calculation, we propose what would be the best combination for you, which robot, which gripper, which camera. And actually, if you want, you use one of our Malucha-bot sets, where you have pre-configured sets with a pre-installed software, so you can get up and running within an hour, let's say, for palletizing and machine tending.
Okay. David, I want to come back to you now. So you at Neura, you're a startup / scale-up, depending on how you want to look at it. And we've talked about a few things already, and I'm sure there are many more to come over the next 1.5 days. But we've mentioned mobile manipulators, we have cobots, cognitive robots, service robots, and now even humanoid robots, all of these things. Is this not a little bit overwhelming for you guys?
Yes, it is. I need to admit, it's hard. Hardware is hard. So, yeah?
Yeah. That was a short answer.
Check.
That's what I get teach. Like, don't answer so long. Yes, for sure. Like, so what Neura does, and we do even more than this. That's the point why we're doing this. So for us is pretty much the platform behind very important, and for sure everyone is talking today about platforms. So our idea was, okay, how do a startup like bring a platform into the market, and how does it make sense? And in the beginning, like as I mentioned also, that I started with Mabi Robotics in Switzerland. It was like the very standard approach. I sold like single robots to market, and we helped in even integrating and whatever, and it was not really scaling. So my idea was, okay, we want to win in the robotics field and in the long term. And but also we have to somehow prove, because we are based in Germany, so we are not in US. We cannot just announce humanoids robots and getting like hundreds of millions investment. It's a different world. So here everything has to be proven. So on how do you prove it? You simply start with something what everyone understands. It's like a cobot. Right? So we started bringing a cobot to the market. So we have a very fast return of invest, and at the same time showing some revenues and showing that we know a little bit about robotics itself. And from there, it comes to the next step, which we actually want to do, is actually cognitive robots. So it means robots which have all the periphery, which you also mentioned as single devices, like cameras, whatever, micro arrays, full-stock sensors, whatever. All of them, having them already integrated in one device and then building them on a platform. So it means streaming data, which is hearing, seeing, and feeling. And then using this data to actually get knowledge into the robot. So we call it skills. So it means, I always make this example of welding. If you are going to see, like, if I let you watch here like a welding video, and we sit here for 1 year long, will you be a welding expert? If you're just watching it, no, you don't. The thing is, like, you're missing what? You're missing the experience of hearing also. even smelling, and that's what we still not have. But and then you're feeling, or like, and this is how you get to like a welding expert, and that's how your welding line will look always better. So, and that's what we like. How to get this data is only by having also the sensors for that integrated, and then having also a platform which is gaining this data. So, and then out of this, for sure, in the end, I mean, I'm a developer, so I love also humanoid robots. So if I could, I would just start with humanoids. But the thing is, they will take some time. And at the same time, there is environments for sure which are meant actually for just other kind of robots which are much more stable. So this is also why I'm always saying a humanoid is nothing else than two arms on a very unstable platform. And these two arms which are on this unstable platform, they are controlled by a brain behind. And this is actually the most interesting, the most important sector. So we just now see actually right now the world is laughing a lot about Elon Musk because he was remote controlling these robots. I mean, this guy made an amazing job. What he shown was, I think everyone who makes robots understand it was crazy good what he did. It was only one robot falling by this many. And now everyone who is actually working with humanoids and not just making videos will actually know that robots are falling much more often than he did in this time, what he showed. So, and this is also, but now coming to the point, is actually that we're saying, okay, we want to win in the future with also humanoid robots because that will be the market in the future. But we are Germans, so we are not allowed to just dream about the big market in the future where the flying car is, but we have to actually perform also every day today and show some revenues. And the good thing about it is like that we are Germans, we have this pressure, so we also now have gaining data already in the market by having thousands of robots in the field, gaining the data and actually using it also for training this future humanoid robots or any kind of robot. So I don't want to be all the time shown just as the humanoid robot developer. We see actually every robot technology, in the end, it's all about what's the inside matters. That's what we always talk about humans, but it's the same with robots. Also the outside a little bit. But in the end, we are training actually the future smart robots. So it means skills. By every welding robot knows how to weld because it gets the skills, or gluing or whatever, and this is actually what we're doing.
You mentioned platform. Your platform is called the Neuroverse. So is there anything else you could share about that? What are your plans maybe for the future going forward?
So Neuroverse, we will show a little bit more about in Automatica, so a little teaser on that. In the end, it's a platform where we, I always like to compare it like with the gaming world, where you simply have a lot of robots. You can have millions of users are training their own robots or playing with their own robots, whatever you want. And in the end, there's a brain behind which is gaining all this data and get the robots a lot of skills. And this is actually what we're building.
Okay.
It's more. It's also in markets, like in marketplace. It's also, let's say, as you said, like we just do everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Helmut, back to you again. I think I saw you smiling or agreeing a few times throughout there from our gentleman's statement. So, all in all, does this all not sound quite promising for robotics in Germany?
I would say from the first impression, yes, it sounds quite promising. And what I believe and what we see is all what the producers and startups are doing is quite fantastic. But on the other side, we have also a kind of what is the politics are doing in regards to regulations. And what I mean, if I look to South Korea, a last mile delivery robot is used as a pedestrian, which is not allowed in Germany. So if we want to get robots out, we somehow need to work also on regulations. Of course, one said safety is first. Of course, safety is first, but there's also a in between. What is safe and what is usable to the market on the one hand side. And then what I also believe is, of course, we're lacking on investment structure. You just mentioned going to the US, you get a zero at the end, or maybe even two more. The same is in China. So we need to get a better investment structure. But finally, I believe also our companies, our small and medium-sized companies, need to be more open and we have difficult economic situations. And many postpone their investments now. And there are reasons for. But if you don't invest now, you will be bypassed by tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And this is what Asia and especially the United States makes much stronger. So my wish would be on the SMEs owners, get more courage to get the cool robotics technologies we have here implemented. This would be my wish and my dream on Germany.
Yeah.
All the rest is fine.
I think later on we'll be hearing from Patrick Schwarzkopf from the VDMA, who will probably give us a few insights into some of these governmental rules and regulations. So something to look forward to there. I've come. Yes.
Can
Yes.
I say something? I do think. Because sorry when I'm talking too much, but I do think this is important. Like I think what Germany is missing is actually the mindset of having a vision and aiming for it and aiming or having at least a goal for something. I mean, right now we can see actually like which countries are right now successful, which are growing, and it's like these countries which have a goal. Like even if you have a company without a goal, you will never reach something. Or like, and this is pretty much also the German situation where we're in. So, and I don't think that the most people are doubting that the biggest market in the future will be robotics, like if you're seeing as a whole. So it means actually if we are taking also this decision also from our governmental side and also just setting this goal like, hey, let's be the world leader in robotics, not by users, because we will not count today how many German people have a car. Nice. They will count like how many, like, and then the good thing is about they have German cars, the most of them, and this is actually the good thing. And this is also what we should have also in the robotics field in the future. The world should actually use German robots, and how to get there is only by setting now the vision, because everything else we have. We have the smartest brains, and in the same time we do have also money for that, but there is no goal. So how can we invest also? And this is also, and if you're looking into the last 100 years, there was not really big, nice companies coming out of Germany. So why should we then invest into Germany? So that's the thing. So we need also to have people which are taking risk and just going this way, going through this tough, hard times by not having enough investments, having less investments than others, but being more efficient, because that's the most German thing ever, being efficient. And so this is why we should use that.
Okay. We can, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I can actually stay with you, David, for the final question, and then maybe afterwards Reinhold and Mladen. So we've spoken a bit about platforms, and this might be a somewhat provocative question, but I'd like to hear the opinion from all three of you, and Helmut, if you want to come in, please feel free to as well. Do we actually need so many different platforms? So you with Neuroverse, please feel free to go first. There is no wrong answer.
If they're all out of Germany, yes, welcome. So let's say like that. I do think platform is a good solution by bringing a lot of things like together or enabling others and not just being limit everything by ourselves. I think the best platform, let's say, example is Apple, or like, because I mean they were a multi-billion-dollar company when they like started with the iPhone, or. So and so that's why should I compete with him and do everything myself? Like even they realized very short time later it is not enough if they do everything themselves. So they opened it, so made a developer environment and at the same time also an app store so everyone can distribute. And I think this is a good example for us. So I hope there is more platforms coming out of Germany, and I hope that we are actually in the end the winners in that segment. And in the end, if you're using a Siemens platform, because I hear Siemens is also working on some stuff, cool stuff there, so then it's good. Or like. And we are also willing to connect to that. If somebody else has a good one, yes, let's do it. Because right now we are also working together with NVIDIA actually on the platform, because they are right now, in my opinion, actually on the forefront on let's say, building the nice tools, not charging money for that, but actually enabling everyone, because they learned actually out of situation why are they now the most valuable company in the world is because they made everyone addicting to them. Like, and this is also what we like should learn about.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Reinhold, would you agree with that?
I mean, in general, I agree that a platform, of course, is something good to bring solutions and technologies together. I would say if I would answer it right now more from a customer and market perspective, we have way too many platforms. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always say, if you have more platforms than suppliers, then it's getting a bit intransparent for the market. And also, if you're like an ecosystem provider, it's also quite difficult to bring your products in all these different platforms, and you don't know which one will last. So right now I would say it's unpractical. It's in my opinion too much. It's a bit coming from that logic, what you mentioned before. We have all these Apples and these Amazons and everything in mind, and the Googles. And so everybody still thinks, who owns the platform, he rules the world, Nobody wants to miss out on that. And I think we have to get away from that and go more to if we have more platforms, then we have to make sure at least that they're kind of interconnectable. And this is why I believe, in a lot of these things, we need to have more standards to make sure that we don't have to reinvent the wheel 2, 3, 4 times. And I think that is another thing that what Germany is normally good in is in defining standards. Just for some reason we don't want to collaborate so much with each other. That was bothering me already during my machine tools times. But this is kind of a thing. I don't know. We have hundreds of companies that want to have their own little world and opening up and really saying what can we do to offer the best solutions for the customers. That still seems to be quite difficult.
Okay. Mladen, would you agree? It's all about standards?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Actually, I'm super happy. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, because I see here people who are really willing to open up. I think why every robot manufacturer or every company supplier, if you want to say so, is building their own platform is maybe, to quote someone in our network, they say, to protect their own crown jewels, because they want to build an ecosystem that is really good for their robot and not for anything else. So if we are here all agreeing on building something that's interconnectable, that's working together, where you can have a mix of Neuro and KUKA robots in the same line, same application, that's actually something I believe would be the best benefit to the end customer, because you can then focus on getting the best hardware-software combination for each application, for each use case, to get the best price-value ratio. And I believe that's one of the biggest things, and why we as Unchained try to connect everyone, try to bring everything, let's say, on the first web platform that looks like a shop, but then also moving forward for the integration, is to deliver the best price-value ratio for the end customer, because for them, and that's something we talked about, in the end, in Germany and Europe, it's an ROI culture, and there will be every cent calculated, and there will be always seen what can we do in the combination to get the best application for us. That's very, very valuable to us.
Okay. So I think, although we
maybe some remark in addition. The main driver on platforms finally will be data, and most platforms currently existing are actually closed platform. And if you ask outstanding customers how to get to the platform, compatibility sometimes not existing, and it would be good. And you see if you see on mobile robots, we have 400 mobile robots manufacturers. They will drop down, and the same will happen with platforms. And what David said, I definitely, of course, hope that this comes out of Germany, and then I don't matter where the best platform comes, and hopefully it comes out of Germany, maybe out of Europe, as a second best opportunity.
So thank you. So yeah, while you're not maybe all completely aligned on your opinion, but in general, I think we can say for Germany, we need a strong partnership with strong ecosystem to really satisfy these customer needs. And we might actually tomorrow afternoon final session hear from the customers if they agree with us or not. So make sure to stay tuned until the very end. And with that, we've actually reached the official part, let's say, of our roundtable. We have a few minutes left for Q&A, but how about a big round of applause to our 4 gentlemen for the excellent discussion. Thank you so much. So yeah, as I said, about 10 minutes, a bit longer than for the keynote. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free, just raise your hand, and again, we'll have microphones ready. Yes, Xafa, right at the front. That's a long way, Leila.
talking about adoption of robotic market. I see new markets, new possibilities, and so on and so on. What do you think? I fully agree. What do you think about what would say the traditional market, like automotive? If there is also a change in the mind, or will the change be done by the retirement, or what's here ongoing in this market, in the traditional robot market?
I think they have right now enough pressure to rethink, you know, like so, and I see already a big change. So, like, I'm not allowed to say too much, but I do see that they're opening up their minds. Like before, they were for sure the leaders of Germany, or like whatever, they were making the rules, and I do see right now a change. Simply because they do have the pressure, they do have a lot of competition right now, and they need to find new processes, new ways of getting again, let's say, how to say it, competitive to the others, so like which are coming from China. So and this is, I think, again, a platform is a good solution for it. Why? Because we do have in Germany the biggest groups of automotive, for example. If they stick their heads together and gain their data in one, for example, brain, they would have an advantage to the brains of others. So and this is also where I do see a huge advantage of them.
Thank you, Sava. Who's next? Yes, the second row from the back.
Hi, my question is for Mladen, actually. Maybe on a lighter note, but Amazon offers something like people who bought this also like. What would you see, or do you have something like this, or what would you see a parallel in the robotics world? People who bought this also like.
Very interesting comparison, but it's true, yeah. And then if you processes in factories are very similar just from a value creation point of view. So if we see a lot of trends, let's say, in the standardization as a full solution for the palletizer, but what happens before that, right? So what is with the picking and packing? What is with boxing? What is with gluing? What is with machine tending, right? So if you look at the value creation of a factory and how they work, you can actually do the people who bought this might also need this. And also, if you take a look at the palletizer, again, intralogistics, you need the mobile robots as well, what we talked about. You need autonomous forklifts as well. So where we work as Unchained Robotics, we try to, let's say, go from the first niche, but then also go into different sectors and different industries and open up to make better explanations where people actually can get new models for the rest of their processes, yeah.
So you're actually asking the person who's going to the platform what kind of application they are trying to solve?
Yeah. So everything is on an application level, everything is on a use case level. We have a live chat that's really a live chat where people are explaining and helping. And also, if you reach out to us, what we do differently than Amazon is we have a different customer service. Yeah, we pick up the phone and we also talk to you about your use case. We look at pictures, videos, we collect all the data, we make analysis, and we make also a proposal how you could actually make a better automation for yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions in the room? Yes, here at the front.
Yeah, so thank you for the talk, and also thanks about talk about the German condition. And I think it's obviously a bit problematic that we also start this conversation with focusing on the risks first, and the fear of automation, the fear of AI, instead of the potential and the potential the problems it could solve for us. So my question would be more to Mladen and David, maybe, because your companies are forward-thinking and you have to deal with customers and with OEMs and partners. What's your strategy getting your wedge in there and convincing them and finding your way in a sometimes a bit backwards thinking industry, maybe?
You want to go first?
You start.
Yeah, I start. Okay. Yeah, a great question. I mean, and being the optimist in the room and being someone who is actually trying to explain the customer what they can actually all achieve with automation, instead of fearing them and trying to explain them how much problematic that is maybe also just as a start in the conversation with the customer. We experience with the custom machine builders in the market that they stand in factories and say, that's pretty hard to solve, right? So that's already the first part of the mindset, trying to explain to people that there are solutions on the market that you can use and work forward with. And on the other side, I think as a whole, as a company, and what we need to see as an opportunity overall in Germany, and you started talking about that, is actually the data part. Yeah. So if we make that right, and if we find a good solution, that you work with SMEs that are maybe not so hesitant with sharing data and giving you data so you can train your AI, you're going to actually build a really big stack of real world data that you can use to actually make it applicable for more people. You will need also synthetic data in the future as well. But I think the German Mittelstand is actually a group of people who would be willing to share a little bit of their data to actually get more progress from that, because they don't want extra costs, and if AI makes it cheaper for them, they will try to share some data as well.
Mm-hmm. I like the question because that was actually also the struggle when you're building a company here in Germany. Then, like, how do you persuade these people? Like, having, especially as a robotic company, you have like a complete different difficulties. Like, that robotics need to be super reliable, or like, and what's the worst thing about the startup? They're super not reliable. So that's a big issue. So this is why. But the good thing about a startup, they're innovative. So you use that. And this is also why you see a lot of videos of Neura and stuff, and good marketing on Neura, because simply we break things down into pieces. So we do not just start with a humanoid and just cognitive robots, but we also use, let's say, collaborative robots, but actually with the ability of update them by extra tools. And this is, I think, also the typical. It's pretty useful, like for Germans, I always say, because you need to break it down to pieces and then you build it up again. And this is also how you. And in the other big importance, and that's also why you see our sales model, or like, I don't even call it sales model, it's more a partner model, because I don't want to have any customers. Why? Because customers, they're unhappy, so they're leaving. And as a startup, you will have a lot of unhappy customers in the beginning. So this is why you need partners. And this is also why we went on the partner model, by simply building up partnerships, having, let's say, this both-sided advantage. We are innovative, they know how to make reliable. So, and then you work together and get it done as a partners. And this is, in my opinion, the difference from Neura to the most other robotics companies, that we partner from the beginning. We never want to compete with them a lot. We always want to partner and enable others, and not take the front role.
So maybe one addition is what I believe and what I see is, we have, of course, the industry on the one hand side, a little bit hesitant, but on the other side, if you go to agricultural robotics, so they have not used robots in the past. If you go to the building industry, have not used robots in the past, but they need to use, or for service, maintenance, hospitality, and so on. And I believe this will bring from today not automized segments. Even old economists will see, oh, holy shit, what is ongoing in agriculture, service, and building industry. And I believe this will also rethink, and this is starting from bakeries, from whatever. I think this will bring an additional drive.
And perhaps if I can also add something, because the question also made me thinking. I think perhaps also a bit of a general answer to it. Right now, I have a feeling also from the discussion we are moving a bit too much towards that side to ask us this question. You know, why are we not America? You know, why don't we have the Microsofts and the Googles and whatever in Germany? And I think that is one of the unfortunately German talents to dig ourselves in, especially when things are getting a bit rough. And I think if you look at the car industry, and so was mentioned before, I would say one of the super strengths of Germany was always to apply technology in the past, and that is the art by itself. And we sometimes don't consider this as a really talent inside of Germany. Might be America is better in developed technology, but look at companies like SAP or so, you know. I mean, super a strong company. In the meanwhile, it is an application of software. I mean, it is. I hope nobody from SAP is here, but it's basically it's a stupid database. Yeah, it's not very smart, but it's a super good application, you know. And I think if we transfer that and look at all the successful companies in Germany, it was always the application of technology, and perhaps we have to also concentrate on that in the future. Not that we say we don't want to develop technology, you know, perfectly fine, but I think we still could say, you know, but we are really great in the application of technology.
Yeah, I would actually agree on that, but if it comes to new technologies like AI-enabled robots and advanced robotics, we need to start somewhere and need to apply it because we need the data from the industry, we need the data from the shop floors, and then we need the manufacturers who are willing to apply the technology to grow and then be the applicants of software again at some point.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe that's something that we can continue to talk about during the next break, because we have in fact run out of time. Thank you for the excellent questions. Thank you again for the great discussion. I think it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, time for our break. Thank you to our panelists.